welcome to the Famalam podcast. We're talking this week about how to use the spiritual practice of generosity in families. Famalam is a podcast trying to help people think about how to encourage their family lives around the teachings and life of Jesus. We don't have Daisy with us because she's lost her voice. And we're coming to you from a slightly different place. This is South Africa, everybody. If you're watching, it's South Africa.
It's quite cloudy in the background.
Yeah, all you can see really is trees. Here with the two little ones, Lucy and Toby, thinking about
I'm back
what it
after a while.
Yeah, it's nice to have you back, Toby. Exams going okay?
Thanks.
Yeah. How are your exams,
right.
Toby?
I'm currently in the middle of revision. Well, this is my break.
Well,
So,
it's very
well done,
costly
man.
for you to be here, Toby. Thank you for
Thanks.
your presence.
How generous. Did you get it?
How generous.
That's a good
Lucy.
segue.
Start off with a question. Do you think generosity comes naturally? Like we talk about it as a spiritual practice. Is it something that comes naturally to children, or is it something you think that you have to intentionally teach? What do you think?
I would say that the intentionality of the parent trying to be generous makes it a gift that the kid would naturally gain from. Like we've spoken so much in other podcasts about how the intentional modeling from a parent of being generous in a day-to-day life is going to make it more natural for the kid. So for example, you and mum, if you were to just do a simple thing of ask a homeless person if they need something to eat from a shop, it's already natural for you, but it's not necessarily something that's a kid wouldn't think without any input. They wouldn't think, oh, I'm going to go and buy something for this person. They need some way to know that that's a generous thing to do and that's something Jesus would do. And the intentionality of the parent doing that sort of teaches it and models it to the kid, I'd say. So seeing you and mum doing stuff like buying a homeless person some food would make that a natural thing for me to think that it's natural.
That's what you do. I would say that's fascinating because for me, it wasn't really a natural thing to do. And it wasn't really until I saw mum doing that when Lizzie would say, well, I'm not going to necessarily give money, but I am going to offer to buy them a sandwich or whatever. Or I'm going to try and help at least one homeless person that I walk past in the city. That's something I had to practice. But what you're saying, Toby, is by me practicing it, it looked to you like that's just a thing to do. And so that became natural thing for you, even though it wasn't natural for me. It was something that I had to practice myself. That's fascinating.
It's interesting because this was my favorite part of psychology. I think I see it quite a lot on the board. Obviously, you have the stages of development in kids, and there's one certain stage where they tend to act a bit more selfish. It's like egocentrism, right? You see it in kids because when they're playing and stuff, and then you have to be like, you need to share your toys. And so I think in kids, a lot of the time, yeah, we do actually have to be intentional because a part of it is just developmental and in how they're growing and how they're learning. And I don't think it's a bad thing that you have to tell your kid to share, but I do think it's just a natural part of life. I remember being told to share and I used to hate it, but I definitely think it is a developmental thing. That's just how kids grow up. If you think about it, there are some kids who tend to be a lot more naturally generous than other kids, especially if someone's upset or something. You'll see that the ones that are quite emotionally intelligent will go and look after them and be generous and stuff with their time and maybe give them something. You can see that in kids from an early stage as well. So I think it is a balance, but I do think some of it is a bit psyche. Does that make sense?
So, Lucy, what are some of the ways that you remember people being generous towards us as a family? Do you remember any of that?
Well, I think a lot of people have been very generous to us as a family, especially people who've invested in us in terms of mission trips, people taking us into their homes. Yeah, just people giving gifts, whether that was time or money. I remember, especially as a young kid growing up in church, the young adults or the kind of older teenagers really taking time to just be with us. And even if it was just babysitting, I saw that as really generous. And just receiving that time from them was not only just important to see how the Christian young people are as a model, but also just as a generous thing of they spent so much time with us and really poured out into us.
I'd say that I think one of the things that I've always seen is sort of people who are on the outside, they sort of look really busy, but have actually just gifted time to us, even in really busy seasons, just taking time to listen.
Generosity comes in all sorts of forms, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
depending on your love language, your love tank, and how that's filled. But I think time is something that we don't value enough. Time is so precious. When someone gives you time, it's just amazing. I remember my grandpa, he was such a hero to me, and the thing that he gave me the most was time. Now, I remember him sitting on the bench as a teenager, and he'd just say, "Okay, Lizzie, tell me about, your life. Tell me about what's happening." He'd take time to be interested in the things that I was interested in, and he'd cut out articles in the newspaper on things that he thought that I would be interested in. Really take interest into my subjects, and I think that listening and taking time is just a real in the busyness of life is a massive gift, isn't it? Not just money. Like, people have been so generous to us as a family, haven't they? With money and with gifts of holidays, and we've traveled all over the world, and I just see that as sort of God's generosity to us, but using people to do that, and I'm so grateful for that.
And I suppose generosity is, think about like what is generosity? It's offering something that you have to someone else for their good or their benefit, and that's why time can be generous to that, because I've got this time. I may not have much time, but I'm going to choose to use that time for your good rather than for my good or for what I would rather have at that time. Or I'm using my money or I'm using my resources for someone else's, not just my good. And I think that's where generosity is an unnatural thing. That, like you were saying, Lucy, as a kid, you kind of want to keep it all to yourself. That's natural inclination, right? So what do you think some realistic ways maybe you remember when we were parenting you as little kids? How might parents help younger kids experience the joy of giving?
I always remember you and Mum, when it came to birthdays and Christmas, you'd give a gift to like Lucy. So at that age, we're talking under teens, so like what?
Yeah, little kids.
I should do it.
A 7-year-old isn't
Ask
gonna
me to do it now when you're 19.
Oh yeah, of course, 100%.
Want me to give to Daisy for her birthday?
Yeah.
No, it stops now.
I've never asked that, and I actually got Daisy's birthday present
I know.
on the way to
He
her
actually
party.
did.
Yeah.
He did
On
a
the
really
way
good
to her
job.
party yesterday.
So you got her present on the way to the party yesterday?
On the way to the party.
But it was a brilliant present, so he did well.
There you go. Generosity is not about being well planned. It's about doing it.
Well,
Yes, you and Mum used to give a gift to like me or so. Say if it was Daisy's birthday, you'd give a gift to me and Lucy to wrap up, and then to give to Daisy. And it used to be like it would always be a DVD. Actually, it was just for some reason, and like a DVD is not like a really expensive gift, but it gives the opportunity for like us to give something to Daisy, and then when we see that Daisy is actually getting really excited, like then that's kind of the joy of giving, isn't it? Like you're making someone's day or whatever.
and that was quite a big thing. I do remember in the States, this is when you were really tiny, so it changed as you got older, because you got the idea more about generosity and giving, and birthdays was not about you, it was about your sister or your brother. But I do remember it was a really hard thing for you to learn. I remember Lucy, I don't know why, but I specifically remember taking you to, because what I'd try and do is take you to a toy shop, and then you'd have to pick something for your sibling of what they'd want. I remember, Lucy, you having this biggest tantrum because you were like, but I want it. So you picked it and you really liked it, and I think you just hadn't got it quite. And so we home, and then we wrapped it, and it was starting to click, but you still thought it was for you. And then the day came, and we were all in the bedroom, and we're giving. I've got pictures, so I remember it vividly. And giving Daisy this present, I said, "Okay, Lucy, it's your turn," and she just wouldn't give it because. You would really put, because I said you need to really think about what Daisy would like.
What she would like.
And you really had, and Daisy really liked it, but you really, really liked it. And it was a doll, and it did all sorts of things, and you wanted this doll.
Yeah.
I remember you giving it with like gritted teeth, but like with bites and things like that. Birthdays are a really good way of to teach children generosity, but also to say this is their special day, and that's a really hard thing to learn. I remember one of my friends saying, "Why don't you buy a present for them to open at the same time?" And I was like, "No, I'm not going to do that. But that's confusing." this birthday is about this person, and
Yeah.
so help them and along the way, even if there are tantrums. I mean, I did go too far one time, and I think it was Daisy's birthday, and she still speaks about this, but it was when you'd have wrapped up the parcel, so you had all your friends, and
Pass the
pass the
parcel. I
parcel,
remember
and
this.
I went too far. Everyone came to this party, pass the parcel.
Shall we say one more person came than we expected?
Yes.
Yeah. So that sets up the story. You
Okay.
know where it's
And
going.
you know, when the music stops, you kind of keep your eye open, check everyone had. Anyway, so I decided, because we didn't have enough to unwrap, Daisy would be the person who had to sacrifice.
Poor kid.
Your dad was horrified I did it. Daisy, she dealt with it so well and didn't say anything until
She's so
afterwards.
cute.
It wasn't until after the party. I never got to unwrap the parcel. I think I then bought another present and we wrapped it all up and we just had it for you three.
It's a family.
But I went too extreme.
Yeah. I also think that when it was your birthday as well, you were very intentional, being like, okay, you've been given all these really nice gifts. You can play with them, but also invite your siblings into it and stuff. You guys really encouraged us to share what we've been given as well, which I think was just as important in that lesson, which was always sometimes a little bit hard because it's like, oh, I just got given this. But it was a really good lesson of being like, actually, like, how can
am I
I share?
imagining this, or did we also help you think about what toys you could then give away because you're not going to use them anymore because maybe you've outgrown it? Because I think that's another way of thinking. How can you intentionally give this to someone to be generous with what you might not use anymore because you've outgrown a little bit? Did we do that?
Especially with like charity shops and like that kind of thing, being like, guys, let's do a little sort through. And it's like, I've not played with this toy for like a year and a half, but like I still really want to keep it. But like I'm not going to use it again. So Mum's like, someone else might be able to use it and have fun with it. And so it's like, okay. It helps you not hoard things nowadays as well. So it's great. Thanks, Mum.
So, when you became teenagers, how did we help you? Can you remember with generosity?
I remember like you guys always talking to us about, okay, like, is there anyone who sat by themselves at school? And like, if you've seen that, like, what did you do? Like, did you just go sit with your friends? I remember this being like the main thing for me in high school. It was like, okay, if I saw this certain person sat by themselves, would I go sit with them? And maybe it was in youth group as well that they brought this up quite a lot. It would just bug me all the time because I wouldn't do it a lot of the time. It's a really good lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows what would have happened if I actually did sit with them, and like how that would have impacted them in their life and stuff. And
Yeah, I always remember you encouraging us. I think that's even a big thing for like anyone in the church now as well. You always see there's like someone by themselves and like looking a bit lost. Even sometimes like recently I've been in church, like before my mates have been at church, and it's like it's so hard to just go up to someone random and be like, hi, especially when it's like a group setting. Like you have to have a lot of confidence to go up to some people to say hi. And like if someone was to literally just like take away that, like the need to do that in a place like a church, it just makes life so much easier, and it's so generous. It's like giving up your comfortability of being in like a comfortable group that you're used to, and instead being like, actually there's a bloke over there who's just walking about trying to find someone. You always encouraged us, like I remember it was sort of Mum like bring over the new like youth person to just be like
all the time,
Toby, say hi to this new guy, and like teaching us that that's not natural. Like we were talking before, like I don't think it is natural to be generous with being uncomfortable, if that makes sense. Like it's a lot easier to just sit in the comfortability of life and just watch things go by, but actually like encouraging your kid to get out of that comfort zone to actually go and say hi to that other person.
I think again that's thinking of another person and how can I use my time to help that other person rather than just me with my friends and catching up. And that's a very selfless thing, I think, that
it's costly.
do with
costly. And I think sometimes we think generosity in money forms, but actually it's really costly to, like you said, Toby, if you've got your little cozy group, at church or wherever it is, and then you see someone coming in, it's so much easier just to hang out with your group. But inviting that person is such a generous thing and really key. Going to grow our church, that's really important. And it's also remembering what it feels like when you are on your own. And you guys have experienced as
Yeah,
you've moved
yeah.
to London. And, walking a church on your own is really hard. We tried. And again, it's getting the balance, being generous with our house, being generous with
Mm.
our table, inviting people for meals. I don't know if we did it too much. I remember one year at St Philip's, we're just going to invite people for Christmas Day, and they weren't necessarily the cool kids or the cool people in church. So it would be the people that didn't have anywhere to go, and that was really costly for you guys. Do you remember that at all, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think I was probably like 15 or something. I don't know, 16. Doing that kind of thing really shows you how to be generous with your time and what you've got. And so like we have food on the table, we have family, we have like fun, and we can share that. And I remember it wasn't easy. I think it's about that comfortability thing. Like, again, like, you want to be comfortable always, don't you? Like, I feel like actually psychology revision, I had a psychology test.
Nice.
There's different types of motivation, and I'm pretty sure there's a theory that humans, like, their motivation comes from wanting to be seek happiness and avoid discomfort or pain or whatever. And I think the discomfort of it is where kids will learn. Like, I know it's not easy, and sort of acknowledging that as well. I think having chats with them. So like mum and dad obviously asked us if it was all right to have these people round, but they were like, this is really important. Actually, it's like what Jesus would have done. I think bringing scripture into it's really important as well to explain why you would do that.
Yeah.
And it meant so. I mean, one particular woman I know who didn't have family still speaks to this day about how much that meant. Christmas Day is a real cost, isn't it? Because you want to just chill out, to church, just kick back, and sharing that, and actually realizing we had so much fun. It just looks a
Yeah.
little. And I think that's what we tried with kids. It's really important to involve them with that conversation of what that looks like and how that looks. And I think at 4 we said it was just our family afterwards. And
It
Yeah.
creates some ownership, I guess, doesn't
Yeah.
it? When the conversation is held before, and this is what we're going to try and do, and these are the boundaries that we're trying to put in place so that we can be generous. What about like giving? Because obviously, quite a lot of the time, the practice of generosity includes giving financially to the Lord, bringing our offerings. Lizzie and I believe in tithing, giving 10% to the church, and then giving to other things on top of that. And we've seen the Lord bless us through that. But that's been a real practice of generosity. And at times it's not been easy, and we've had to choose to do it. And other times it feels easier. We've tried to increase tithe at times as well, challenged by Rick Warren, who now reverse tithes and gives away 90% or more of what he gets in, because they just continue to grow and grow and grow in their generosity. So how did we help you think about what it means to give as part of our worship, as part of our spiritual life?
I think you guys definitely drilled it in from a young age. I remember we'd get a very small amount each month to help us learn about money and how to use it. And so I think actually through that it was also okay, so we have this money, so how much are we giving to church? And I remember it started off very small. I mean, it was probably 10% of what we got. I remember starting off giving £2 and then gradually grew to £5.
I remember being aghast at you and Daisy. She isn't here, but us were like, "Wow, how much you give?" You were
I don't remember that.
chose to give out of your wage packet out of the coffee shop.
You
You
earned
really
and
did.
you gave them increased
You
giving.
did.
And I'm not going to lie, I didn't give any of
No,
it.
you didn't want to.
No, actually,
This is great.
hang on. This is just to encourage the people that are like,
Yeah.
oh crap,
No,
how Lucy's giving
yeah.
£5
To
and
be
she only
fair,
got.
I started working from the age of 13.
Yeah.
So that's
I know I
probably
didn't
why.
because I was lazy. No, I'm joking. Basically, I think I didn't. I think I had the intention, but I never got round to it. But then I think I was still had in my head the idea of I don't think I had got into the tithing thing, even though I knew how important it was. I think I had that in my arsenal for adulthood. Well, that's good, isn't it? Alliteration, flipping heck.
Woo!
My arsenal for adulthood. I knew that was something that's really important because mum and dad had spoken so much about it, and in our family it feels like it is a part of worship. It's a part of being a Christian is to tithe and give your money to the church. But I think I would also have done on the way to school or something. Sometimes I would have bought someone a homeless person like a sandwich, but that was because of mum and dad's like sort of they're modeling in a different way of giving as well. But I think obviously both are just as
So we were
important as each other.
using scripture, I guess, to support us. Like Proverbs 22, verse 9, the generous will themselves be blessed, for they share their food with the poor. Psalm 112, verse 5, good will come to those who are generous and lend freely. And just that theme all the way through scripture of how much God loves people who are generous because it reflects his heart.
Yeah.
Shows what he's like. God is a generous God, right? And I think if we're going to try and grow you guys as followers of Jesus, then it has to include what it means to give from your own resources for the good of others that might be costly for you, but it's going to help them.
One really important point just for parents is that for us, we shared and we discipled you. This is what you might want to do, but we never forced you. So that's why, Toby, you never did. And actually, but that's
That's
really
a really
important.
good point.
Actually, and also we didn't make a big deal of it. Like quietly, we're talking to Lucy and just saying, darling, I'm so proud. That's just, wow.
Yeah, you wouldn't put Lucy on a pedestal and
I wouldn't
like
no, but also I wouldn't say, oh, Toby, you're not, you're not giving or anything. That wasn't, and I
You're
just,
not as good as Lucy.
and I think that's really important. Parents, that's really important because we're all on a journey. We're all at different places on that journey, and we've all got to work through that stuff. But I think with generosity and being generous with what we have. I remember moving to America, and our house wasn't quite as big as this other person's house, and it didn't have the pool and jacuzzi. And I remember thinking, well, I can't invite people back. I mean, this is bonkers because our house was huge, but in the mega church, it wasn't as huge as everyone else. We didn't have boats to, take people out on lakes and things like that. And I remember feeling like our house wasn't good enough, but I remember someone traveling actually from the UK who was leading some worship for us at the church. And
Noel Richards, shout out to Noel and Trisha Richards.
Yeah,
yes.
Trisha. And I remember driving back in the car and me sharing about this. And she said, Lizzie, you always are generous from what you have and what God's given you. And it doesn't matter if you live in a hut or a mansion. You just bless and then I just started, and I was like, oh my, and I remember deeply challenged. I thought, no, I need to give, and I need to invite people to come into my house, because in England I had no problems inviting people to my house, and I don't now, but for some reason in the US I was embarrassed because I didn't have this boat. We did live in kind of bonkers world in Arizona, but I do think it's really important we give from what we have. And when, me and Gareth are not into the prosperity gospel or anything, but what I can say is the Lord has blessed us as we've blessed, we've gone without. And that's our testimony and that's our story. We used to talk to you about stories of the miraculous provision of God and how he provided holidays, or when we take you out for a birthday treat, someone had literally given us some money for the meal that we actually couldn't afford. Or, Daisy's present. Remember wanting to buy her a piano, and back then we were in Sheffield and we didn't have much money at all. Gareth was working part-time for church, and I was with Daisy, wasn't working, so we had very little income, and I wanted this early learning piano, and I'd seen it, and Daisy loved worshipping, loved music, and I prayed and I was like, Lord, I really want to buy this piano, but I saw it at the early learning centre and I think it was £35, but we didn't have £35. No. And a friend of ours turned up on our doorstep and said to me, oh, I heard you wanted this piano for Daisy, and I saw it in a charity shop, and he gave me this box, and it was battered and it was wrapped with black tape. It looked utter rubbish, and he said, I got it for £1, and I said, oh, I'll get you £1. I said, thank you, and I took it. And I just thought, oh, this looks really good. Thanks so much. Anyway, I took it upstairs, unwrapped it, and there was a brand new early learning piano. And we were able to give it to Daisy, and the Lord provided. And just always remember that, of the faithfulness of the Lord. And we've just always had that.
Yeah. So in terms of family practices, then what it looks like to try and encourage generosity, or maybe it could be about just having that conversation about using pocket money or something to give towards the church. Maybe it's about developing those practices around birthdays like we were talking about, and getting your children to help think about what they could buy for someone else to be generous. Maybe it's about going through their wardrobe and thinking about what clothes they do or don't need, but perhaps beginning to do that on something of a weekly or at least a monthly basis, so that there's a regularity, there's a consistency to our generosity is what we tried to do, and we commend that to you as a way of trying to develop that practice of generosity within your family. So that's our conversation on generosity. I hope it's been helpful for you. We'll be back next week to talk about another spiritual practice and how we embed that in our family lives. But for now, if you've got any thoughts about how to encourage generosity, please let us know. Email hello@famalampod.com or Instagram @famalampod. We'd love to hear from you. And please, as ever, do share the podcast, like, comment, subscribe, and we pray that as we're trying to be generous in giving our time to support you, you can be generous to other people as well and see God's kingdom come. So for now, God bless and goodbye.
Bye.